The death of Prince Albert had a profound impact on Queen Victoria. She entered a state of deep mourning and wore black for the rest of her life, earning the nickname Widow of Windsor. Victoria withdrew from public appearances and rarely left her homes.
But let us say you're 42 years of age and you're a woman. Your Ronanubandha is almost negligible. This is why in this culture, women are not required to do karmas. A minimum of 4.5 hours a day, if you do this, you don't have to really bother about that because somebody close to them died somewhere, they have not received any information. Suddenly they feel their energies are gone and they're like, they don't know what's happened, but suddenly they're almost sick, they're feeling like that, completely drained out. Then after a few hours or few days, information comes that this person is dead. Let us understand this. This is not to belittle anybody's loss, but I want you to understand this, that grief is always about loss. Loss means that we lost something. It is not about somebody's death. People can grieve loss of possession, positions, or even professions. So it's essentially about that an individual human being lost something. When it comes to people, if you lose them to death, the significance of this loss is that it cannot be replaced. Possessions can be replaced, positions can be replaced, money and wealth can be replaced, but when we lose a person, we cannot replace. So the grief becomes more profound in this case. This is happening to us simply because we have built our persona like a collage. Who we are is because of what we possess, the positions that we hold, the relationships that we hold and the people who are in our lives. If any one of these things fall out, it leaves a vacuum in our persona. This is what we are suffering. So it's very important that our relationships come from the basis of our fullness, not as an instrument to fill our life with a relationship. If you use a relationship to make yourself complete, then when you lose it, you become empty. If you form a relationship because you want to share your fullness, then there will be no grief. When we lose somebody very dear to us, all this may not work. This looks like trivializing one's loss. So this must be cultivated throughout our life, that who we are is not determined by what we have in our lives. Who we are decides what we have in our lives. This must happen to every human being. This is what spiritual process means. Death simply means somebody who was available to you is now absent, that's all. It is not because one life vanished, you're crying about it. It is just that somebody who was, filling a part of the collage for you is absent, so it leaves a hole in your life. Depending upon how close they were, accordingly it leaves that big a hole in your life. So, what you're battling with is not the death of a person, what you're battling with is the size of the hole they have left in your life. Suppose a faraway relative or a friend, somebody that you know, an acquaintance died, you feel bad for an hour and then you get back to normal. But somebody very close and dear to you passed away, now they've left a huge hole. So your problem is you trying to tend to this hole, which is within yourself. This hole has happened essentially. Now what I say may sound little brutal for people who are in that situation, but one must understand this. If you look for solace, yes, if somebody comes to me who have just lost somebody dear to them, I will also hug them and, protect them and give them some solace. But you must decide whether you want solace or you want a solution to your life. Because today this person will die, tomorrow that person will die, day after tomorrow I may die myself, it doesn't matter. But people keep dying because we are dying kind of people. Let's understand this, all of us, we are dying kind of people. First thing that must be fixed in our mind, we are mortal by nature. So having said that, grief, we must understand, it is on many different levels. There is a psychological grief. In thought and emotion you suffer the loss of the person. But depending upon how much memory you have built within your body with regard to that person, let's say if it's your child or your husband or your wife or some kind of very close bond, then a certain amount of memory is there in your body. We call this traditionally in the yogic culture as runanubandha, that is, body has developed a bond beyond your psychological friendships and companionships and love and whatever else you have. Body itself has done this. A whole lot of people feel this. Somebody close to them died somewhere, they have not received any information. Suddenly they feel their energies are gone and they're like, they don't know what's happened, but suddenly they're almost sick, they're feeling like that, completely drained out. Then after a few hours or few days, information comes that this person is dead. But well before the information came, they will feel this because within the body there is a certain process that the memory starts undoing itself and you feel like you're dumped. Your runanubandha with your parents or with your children is strongest till you're 21 years of age. Once you cross 21 years of age, it is called as the first quarter. In the yogic way of looking at it, 84 is the cycle of life. The first quarter is 21. Up to 21, if you lose a parent or if you lose a child below 21 years of age, the pain will not just be emotional, it'll be physical. It will manifest in the body because there is a strong runanubandha. But beyond 21, it is largely psychological and emotional. When we say runanubandha, what you suffer emotionally or psychologically, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about physical memories. Bodies have memories. Because what you call as a parent is the basis of this body. There is a very deep memory connection between the two that is at its strongest till 21 years of age. Once you pass that, it is weakened. Is it gone? Not totally gone, weakened. Let us say you're 42 years of age and you're a man, then you still have a reasonably painful runanubandha. But let us say you're 42 years of age and you're a woman, your runanubandha is almost negligible. Not that it's not there, it's there, but very, very low. So, the suffering that you go through is largely emotional and psychological. If you're psychologically very stable, emotionally balanced, you will see you will handle it quite effortlessly because there is no physical turmoil going on in the system. But the same thing, if they lose their husband, that runanubandha is physically painful because that is a different type of runanubandha. A child below 7.5 years of age doesn't have much runanubandha. The mother and father may have enormous runanubandha, but on the other side, there is not much runanubandha. This is not just for psychological reasons. A child below 7.5 years of age doesn't suffer much, doesn't go through the turmoil physically. May suffer because of not being taken care of and those kind of situations if they are there. I don't want to go into the detailed mechanics of what it is, but if you are over 42 years of age and you are a woman and you lost a parent. This is why in this culture, women are not required to do karmas. Karma is done for the dead, not so much for you. But if you're below 21 years of age, it's very, very important you do it because it's both for the dead and for you. It's very important for you because the person who died, whatever happens, happens. But your life can be in a constant turmoil because there is a physical memory which torments you at a different level. Even if you're mentally stable, emotionally very balanced, still there is a certain torment going within you. For this, there are yogic processes with which you can rejuvenate the system. There's a whole system of things to do. Here at the yoga center, we've kept it very alive. For people who lose their loved ones, we do certain processes so that the physical memory is taken away. Once the physical memory is taken away, the psychological suffering can be dealt with by the individual person much more easily. How to perform karmas and kriyas for dead if you are not able to physically do something? The simple thing is to go into a 3-day period of sadhana. Because internally you can do this, beyond a certain age, it is largely for the dead that we are doing it. But there is an element of that, it's not totally gone. Our bodies are never 100% free from the genetic process that we have received from our parentage. There is a way to be above that, but we are not absolutely free. Physical body functions in a certain way. So, just 3 days of withdrawal and a certain type of sadhana, if you don't know anything else, simply just do the Maha Mantra, Om Namah Shivaya intensely for 3 days as much as you can. A minimum of 4.5 hours a day if you do this, you don't have to really bother about that because it's also nice to withdraw, it's a sensitive time, but now deaths and funerals and what happens post-death is all become a social nonsense that you have to have people at home, you have to serve them drink, you have to serve them food. You know, this… in the Western countries it's become a big thing, even in India, certain kind of thing is building up. It's best that you just withdraw from society and nonsense and spend some private time. When somebody significant in your life passes away, it's important that you withdraw and do something with yourself rather than simply trying to run the social thing like a distraction. This social thing is, people's way of handling their grief is, let's go to the movie, let's read a book, let's watch the television. Don't look for distractions. When there are troubles within us, we must address it head on. Don't look for distractions. Distraction is not a solution.
The grief and depression experienced by individuals over the loss of their loved ones is deeply personal and subjective. Many people throughout history and in contemporary times have faced profound sorrow due to the death of loved ones. Here are a few notable figures who experienced significant depression or grief following such a loss. Queen Victoria. The death of Prince Albert had a profound impact on Queen Victoria. She entered a state of deep mourning and wore black for the rest of her life, earning the nickname Widow of Windsor. Victoria withdrew from public appearances and rarely left her homes, particularly Windsor Castle, Osborne House, and Balmoral Castle. Her reclusiveness led to a decline in the monarchy's popularity, though she remained dedicated to her duties. Her grief was expressed in her journals and letters, where she often wrote about her longing for Albert. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln's sorrow over Willie's death was intense and compounded by the ongoing Civil War. Both Abraham Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, were devastated. Mary's grief was particularly pronounced and she never fully recovered, experiencing emotional instability for the rest of her life. Lincoln himself found solace in his work but was often seen visiting his son's crypt. The personal tragedy deepened his empathy, influencing his speeches and decisions, particularly in addressing the suffering of others during the war. C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, a renowned author and Christian apologist, married Joy Davidman late in life. and their relationship was deeply fulfilling. Her death from cancer led Lewis to question his faith, and he candidly expressed his grief and doubt in A Grief Observed. The book, initially published under a pseudonym, provided a raw depiction of his pain, confusion, and eventual acceptance. The process of writing and reflecting on his grief allowed Lewis to reconcile with his belief and find a path through his sorrow. Mary Shelley. Percy Bysshe Shelley, her husband, drowned on July 8, 1822. Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, was deeply affected by Percy's death. At just 24 years old, she was left to care for their young son and deal with the aftermath of losing her partner. The couple had lived a tumultuous life filled with financial instability, social ostracism, and the deaths of their children. Percy's death exacerbated her already profound sense of loss and abandonment. Mary dedicated herself to preserving his literary legacy and continued to write, although her later works often reflect themes of loss and despair. Eric Clapton. Connor Clapton, his 4-year-old son, died on March 20, 1991. Eric Clapton's son, Connor, died in a tragic accident falling from the 53rd floor of a New York City apartment. Clapton was devastated after his grief was expressed through his music. The song Tears in Heaven became a poignant tribute to Connor, capturing Clapton's sorrow and longing. The tragedy led Clapton to reassess his life and priorities, focusing more on his personal life and his relationship with his family. His music from this period often carries a sense of melancholy and reflection. These historical figures demonstrate how personal loss can profoundly shape one's life and work. Their experiences with grief and depression provide insight into the universal struggle with loss and various ways people cope with and express their sorrow.